Well, it looks like this is 30th of July, Tuesday. It's after lunch. Hope everybody out there is having a good day. I want to thank all you subs who come to listen. You should appreciate it. The other day I was on, had listened to Millstown. I'm going to be a guest of his on August 13th. So put that on your calendar. It's going to go live. You'll get a chance to get in the chat, talk to Super Dave and myself. He'll be doing an interview. So hope to see you there. Not a whole lot for subjects today. I know a lot of times I get on there and bring out the qualities of different, what would you say, creators out there. But today I don't feel like doing that. It's one of them days where I don't want to pick or be picked on. It's problem here is today we're actually getting a little rain. It's nice and warm out there, but thunder and lightning and the downpours have been off and on since about 3 o'clock this morning, I guess. I know I don't particularly care to go through a whole day of it. We need it. Obviously, we need rain to keep everything going and growing and whatever it's going to do out there. Oh, my. In general, just trying to kick back a little bit today, take a little bit of a rest, if anything. Nothing earth-shattering going on as far as in my world. Around the world, obviously, a lot of things are going on. Looks like the hot spot in the world is still over there in Israel. They're still shooting rockets at each other. Oh, boy. You know, the unrest out there has been going on for thousands of years. If it's not with one or another, it's against everybody else, I guess. I don't know. I'm hoping someday that we won't have to put up with all that. It makes our stock market jump all over the place. It runs our gasoline prices up and down, and then it raises our groceries up and down. I don't know why people want to fight so much, but I guess it's kind of the way of the world, isn't it? Yeah, we got our politicians out there trying to prove who's the best. But the heck of it is, very few of them want to tell us what they're going to do. They just want to tell us what the other party is guilty of. We all know what each party is doing. We want to know what they're going to do for us. And I don't know why they can't. But I guess it's kind of like when you get on let's say YouTube, I guess it wouldn't matter where it's this, or X, or Facebook. Everybody wants to take a shot at somebody. And I guess it's kind of hard to understand why. And we keep thinking that our social life is on here. As a matter of fact, for some, that's the only life they have, is what they consider social life on here, on YouTube or Facebook. To me, it don't make much sense. But, you know, when I grew up, our real friends, we seen them in person. Even the telephone wasn't used that much. It was more of a finding them going up. It didn't matter if you hung out in a pool hall or a tavern or the church or grocery store, city park. You got together to have your social times. And it was easier to tell who's a friend because you can see the look in their face, and you can tell by their voice whether they're in a good mood, bad mood, or if it's what kind of a day it's been for them. And you sit down, relax. Could be on a bench in the park somewhere, or it could be on the stool in the tavern. I mean, I don't know what your habits are. And I'm not here to change them. Please don't think that I am. But the social media itself can hurt. And we have to remember that if you get on here and you start ganging up on somebody, it has a lot more emphasis on them now than it did 70 or 80 years ago when you, back then, you didn't have a big crowd of people jumping on somebody. But today, everybody's looking for that little check mark on the likes on there. I don't care what media you use, there's something on there that's positive, and some places have the negative. And I know that YouTube doesn't, even though they show a thumbs down, you don't see how many thumbs down were on it. Only the creator does, creator of that channel. And he can see by the percentage. And it's meant so that you don't get your feelings hurt too bad as a creator, or if you make a comment that you don't end up with 100,000 negative, for your comment and only 2 thumbs up. It's not meant. They want people to use the system, because that's how the YouTube makes its money, is at the positive interactions. The heck of it is, the ones that get the most, it seems like it's almost a hunt and pick. Does that make sense to you? Now, I know one day, actually it's been a few weeks or a month ago, I don't know what it was, but one of the stations out there said that the biggest, for that particular person, the biggest amount of people that were watching usually had, it was over money being found, or, the acclamation of cold cash. That was where the biggest amount of subs would come in and make positive comments, and you picked up the most subs. So, when you look at it from that standpoint, it looks like money could be maybe number one, and number two is negative drama. And sometimes it reflects on society itself. If you come on with a smile, people get upset with you because they say, well, why would you smile against something like that? I mean, can't you tell that's not a good one to smile about? Well, sometimes you have a disposition that you're in a pretty good mood. It takes an awful lot to change it. And therefore, the smile is appropriate for you, but maybe not for somebody else. The thing of it is, they don't stop and think about it. They don't have to watch. They can turn their head like this, see? If they don't want to hear you, they can turn the volume down or just turn it off. It never ceases to amaze me. People get on there and they critique you, and they tell you, well, if you do that, I'm not going to watch it. Well, okay, don't. Come on back when you're in a better mood, and maybe we can entertain each other. A lot of times they get mad, and they don't give you the reason. They just get mad. That don't make sense either, right? I've always told everybody, I'd like to know your opinion, and if you explain it a little bit, that's better than being nasty about it. Or if you say, I'm mad at you, but you don't tell me why, you're just going, But the ones that are happy, and you're always glad to see those people come, because it puts a smile on your face. And if you practice stuff like that, like if you're in a grocery store and you tell the clerk, thanks, we appreciate that, or have a good day today, and it puts a smile on their face most of the time. Now you're gonna run across some that no matter what you do, it won't put a smile on their face. It's no different here on this. So can't expect everything. You just got to hope for the best. Now, I hope you can hear me okay on here. I've got my mic up here so that I can talk into it a little closer, and maybe the diction will be a little bit better as well. Oh my, can you think of anything that you'd like to air out on there? Maybe we can get some new subjects going. If so, put it down there below, and we'll see what we can do. We'll try to take care of the mass out there, what they want. I just assume it wasn't something too negative. It'd be great if all the channels decided to stay positive. Can you imagine what kind of world we'd have? and how much more fun it would be to have positive things to say. We could quit picking on each other. Wow, would that be something? I know the other day there was somebody that said, Ray, you're always up and down about, you change your mind or you don't do it this way or whatever. And I thought about that a little bit, and I thought, well, more than likely I listened to somebody that changed my mind. So I thought, well, they give me a reason to be positive about something instead of negative. Or maybe they just kind of pissed me off, so I became negative for an hour that day. And so everything that pertained to that particular subject kind of pissed me off. And so I gave you how my view was at the moment. Our views are momentary until we learn something different. If we don't know the whole story and we're out there, it affects our attitude, and our attitude can be changed as we learn more about it, or as somebody that can explain it better. I mean, I do a lot of watching different channels. Some of them I cringe. I seen one the other day, and a lot of swearing. I thought, oh boy, that was a hard one. I wouldn't want to have this up because I wouldn't even, my wife and I don't swear around each other. We kind of keep it that way at our house. We just soon not have anything like that go on. And the best way for somebody that visits us to not ever visit us again is to start swearing in our house. They don't get another invite back, and they very seldom would get another chance to come back. It's just that if the only way they can express their beliefs or their ideas or their self in general is to just swear one word after another. And we realize most of the time it's just a habit. They may not mean anything by using those nasty 4-letter words, but to us it makes our ears cringe a little bit. And it took years for me to get out of the habit of swearing because, when I worked construction over the years, it's a continuous banner, and you become a part of it. You start utilizing that same thing, and as you do, and you get around other people and you see the look on their face, then you realize, oh heck, I was swearing again. But now, if I swear, I'm thinking, oh no, and ask the Lord to forgive me because He hears me whether I say it out loud or whether I'm thinking. You can think and be swearing, believe it or not. Well, if you're a true Christian, you know what it feels like to swear because all of a sudden you get that, ooh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. And there's so many people who would use the Lord's name in vain. It's just not a good practice for you. The day's going to come where you've got to answer for all that. That judgment day, it's you all by yourself. Nobody's going to coach you when that comes along. If you want to get resurrected someday, you better take care of today. Some people, if you live your life as if today, this next hour was your last hour, or your last day is today, and would you change your attitude that day? Would you do better, or would you go out and get even with somebody? What do you feel? I mean, are you thinking, oh, I wish I got to go out there and tell somebody what I think of them on a positive manner, not negative? Because if you're gone, it's too late. And those people are left with the final thoughts of what you just did the day before or maybe just before you passed away. And even though you're gone, you say, well, that don't make any difference. Well, if you're a Christian, it makes a difference. The day comes where you're going to be resurrected. And boy, in that whole time, you just made your whole family mad about something, and they're talking bad about you, and you can't do anything about it already because you're gone. You're not there. You can't defend yourself. You have to defend yourself before the Lord, but not, everybody you knew, all your friends. They already. The last thought they have about you is the thought of your whole life. I would say, if you clean up your act as if it's going to be your last hour or your last day, it wouldn't be a bad thing to do. Some religions you can get absolution from a priest. My absolution is I try to pray as often as I can. Yes, I always pray through Christ. And it relieves that burden of off your shoulders so that you don't have to carry it with you all the time. There's nothing worse than having to carry all those things that you did wrong, and you're not going to go through life without doing some things wrong. Even though there's 10 commandments, and you'd think it'd be so easy to follow those 10. But there's more to it than that. There's, how you conduct yourself, and you're mentally and physically, the whole works. Whoops. Hold on a minute. I got to turn that. That's my air compressor. I've turned it down. Sorry about that. I was working on my other vehicle out there the other day and had air up a tire. I forgot to turn the compressor off. And sometimes it leaks down, and you have to, if you don't shut the switch off, it goes on every so often. I'm pretty good usually about shutting it off because I don't want to pay for that thing to turn on and off every so often. Oh, again, I apologize for that. Old age, catching up. Well, I know I give you a little lecture about doing the right thing or why you should keep your life straight as you go. Our world being into that turmoil like it is, it's unfortunate, and the heck it is. I get on here sometimes, and I'm mad about something or the way somebody conducts herself. I'm nobody's boss. I'm just not. And sometimes a person will talk as if they are your boss. Sometimes that's their nature. Most of my life I've supervised workers in one way or the other, but I want you to understand something. There was always supervisors over me, whether it was a company I happened to own at the time, or if I worked for a board or whatever. I always had somebody that was above me. And if you remember how you reacted with those bosses, because you're on your best behavior, or you should be, the ultimate boss is your Lord. You're here because of him, and you wouldn't even had life unless he gave it to you. So I guess what I'm trying to remind you is that no matter how you do things or how you feel, you truly aren't the ultimate boss. You're just part of the chain. And we all have a place here on this earth. And if you remember that, maybe you can treat others better. If you take a gear out of a transmission, the transmission may work, but it won't do everything it was performed to do. And I feel people here are kind of that way too. If we take a person out of the clog, whether it's take a person out of the town, they may have had a purpose. And if we try to take them out of there, we've taken that purpose that the Lord put them here for. We've kind of ruined this whole thing. The team is not intact. The other thing is people that are down, not just necessarily because they're, over the years, parts of our body deteriorate. And if you lose this part of it up here, and the rest of you is still intact, your body is still there, you can still speak, but you lose the capacity to either be a good person or to do the tasks that you could do at one time. People have to understand that to a certain extent, and it's better to help you than it is to eliminate you. And we're in a world where we're kind of close to that. When I look out and I see centers that are there to uh, perform what I call, it's hard to put it on here without getting nailed and getting shut down. I don't want to run and aggravate them. But until a person, some people believe that you're not a person until you're born. My belief is you're a person at conception. The Lord was there for that moment that it took. It's a new life. That's how I feel. Now I know a lot of people don't feel that way. But if we can if we're eliminating the bottom, and actually it's not the bottom, the beginning, what about when people get my age and we get to a point where we really, all we can do maybe is to take care of ourselves with the help of medications and doctors. And sometimes at the very last we have to have a nurse or some kind that can administer things, help us bathe. There's a lot of things, fix our meals. Now my wife and I have tried to set up so that we try to put enough away so that if somebody has to help us, that they'll get paid for it, and they'll do it gladly. They won't be upset if they had to help us. In my early years, we actually helped our elderly out. Even as kids, we did. My grandmother had actually given us all a place to live. It was her house. And we actually took the house over. You know, you don't realize that who really owns the house. But it was my grandmother's. And, you know, the appreciation comes later when you realize, oh my goodness, the sacrifice that somebody like that did for you. And in those days, there was more and more people that took care of the aged just like they would the children that came up. Today, it's not that way. We have more nursing homes probably than there are churches, active churches in your town. And they're not treated like they would be at home, obviously. And some of them could clearly live at home yet. A good share of them could. There's some that clearly can't because they need 24-hour care. Mentally, there's a problem, or physically. Maybe both legs have been removed, or a stroke took one side, or whatever. And the empathy that it took for families to stick together is something that's kind of missing. Because we've done everything we can to eliminate life towards the end and at the very beginning. And when I look at that and I say, well, our world has changed so much from when I was a child. My sister died when she was about around 3 days old from lung problems. And it affected my mother till the day that she passed away. Life to her was extremely important. Her and her mother were so tight that it's unreal. And it was passed on to us kids. We were a part of our grandparents' life. But it's not that way as much today. And it's that way with friends as well. If you look around you, your friends you think about are on something like this, or in your iPhone. It's a difference in attitude. And it shows up because of the amount of fighting that's going on. Even in your city government or county government and our federal. And when your leaders, somebody takes a pot shot at them, and we've had several that's happened to. You know, John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, and the latest one is Donald Trump. And Abraham Lincoln. I almost forgot Abraham Lincoln, and he was way, way back. You know, people thought they should have to eliminate somebody to get. But what was their end goal? What did they think they were going to gain by doing that? There's somebody that's going to take their place. I'm thinking about stuff I shouldn't. It gets too deep, doesn't it? And nobody wants to get deep, I don't think. But anyway, like I said, I didn't have a whole lot to talk about today, but when I think of empathy and the treatment we treat our elderly and the people that haven't been born yet, and you say, well, they're not people, but they are. They are. The Lord had a soul for them to give them when they would get at the moment of birth. But he gave them life before that, as far as actual life. The heartbeat, the first breath of life is given by the Lord as they're born. And the soul was waiting for them. So you have to think in the terms of even it was somebody that had not been born, and we stop it somewhere along the line. It's not ours to stop. It's the Lord's to stop if it's going to stop. And at the very top, whose decision is it to not help that person in any way possible until they decide, I'm done? Today, you get to live until you run out of money, and then you run out of life itself. It's going to change drastically, and you probably won't be around very long after that. What a shame. And no, I'm not one of those that think that we ought to redistribute wealth. That doesn't work. If you were to take all the money of the world and divide it up to every person evenly, in most instances, the people that have it now would gain it back in a very short period of time. The reason being is how they conducted themselves and what they did. And it's not always just chance that gives them that. Okay, they had a mindset. More than likely, they would be able to start over and get back up into that stratus that's up here that you look up and say, oh, they're rich. Being rich is a matter of perception, not how much you always have. Being comfortable, though, that I believe in. If you're comfortable, you'll be happy. To be happy, you have to be productive in some way. If you are productive, you're going to have some finances. The next thing is, what does it take to keep you satisfied at that point? How much does it take to keep you satisfied? That's something to always think about. When I was 64, and my wife and I planned out this retirement we're in, and I was tempted to go beyond the 65 mark before I retired. Tempted. And the reason I was tempted was to work another year or two would put a substantial amount of money in the bank. Now, that last couple of years, we were living on the amounts as far as what we knew we would have for an income. In other words, we didn't go beyond that spending. There were certain things that we'd put away, like utility or roof for the house and furnace and air conditioner and appliances, stuff like that, that we knew when we retired we were going to put all that brand new. That way we didn't have to. We figured we'd never have to do it again, and that's not always true. But believe me, I had a stroke, and that was kind of a deciding factor. At that point, when I was able to get back up on my own and get around, which was within a day, 24 hours after I had my stroke, I was able to walk okay and talk. Okay, the residual fact was there was a little bit of numbness left, in which I still have today. But at that point, we knew that we couldn't enjoy retirement if we were gone. So when I turned 65, and I talked it over with the company I worked with, and we retired it out. And I think like 4 months later, They threw a retirement party for me, and I was fully retired. And my wife and I knew we had enough to do the things we wanted to in retirement. If I'd have worked another couple of years, I would have had a pretty good chunk of dough. But what would it do for me? The money wasn't worth life. The life itself, it's a quality of life that you can enjoy while you're here. So the decision was by both of us for me to go ahead and retire while I could, because we didn't know how long. I had so many things wrong with me. I mean, it was like, what's going to hit me first? And my wife had a few ailments too. So it was a time where we knew we could travel, and we could go anywhere we wanted in the world if we wanted to. It was up to us. And but the realization when you hit that point is you have enough. And all it took from us to realize we had enough was that stroke. And it was probably the best thing that ever had happened to me, because it helped our decision. Maybe it was the Lord intervening and saying, hey, it's getting time for you to get out. Let somebody else take your place. Somebody else needs that job. And it's time you retired. You earned it. So the day that came there, I was nervous all day. My last day. And actually, my last day was more of a party from the company than it was actually doing anything. I'd already got stuff out of my desk. It was a formality for me to come in and do my shaking and goodbyes. And then it feels like a silence within yourself. You walk out for the last time. You're not going to go in there and get a paycheck and shake hands with the president of the company as an employee anymore. And you get home and you get this, there's just a minor worry. Is there enough there that we're going to be able to pay our bills? Because I've worked all my life to get a paycheck, but now I don't get a paycheck for working because it's already been prepaid. Now I have to make sure it lasts me till my last day here. Then after a few months, it got easier and easier, and it didn't bother me as much. But when you first retire, it does bother you a little bit. Thank goodness. I mean, it's been, well, actually in October, I believe, is when it'll actually be 15 years, in October of this year. Boy, that is really something. Because I went longer than I thought I would, and I've been able to enjoy my wife's company that entire time. And we were able to spend more time together in my retirement than we did our whole rest of our life. And we've been married 61 years. 61 and a half, matter of fact. So, what a gift. What a gift. But, like I say, you have to know when enough is enough. And that's why I ask you, how much money do you really need? Because there's a certain point where money takes your life over. And instead of love of the Lord, you may have more love of money. The greed takes over. That balance of having enough, having a roof over your head, enough to eat, being able to get a doctor to take care of you. If you have emergencies that come up. If you want to live, you're not going to live a whole long time without some sort of doctoring and hospitalization. And then you have to have a joy of life itself. And I do. I enjoy life. That's why most of the time you'll see me more with a smile than anything else. My wife would rather see me with a smile than to sit there like that. Now, she knows I get down a little bit because of whatever, politics or something else going on. And she'll do what she can to cheer me up, and I cheer her up whenever I can, too. And we have a couple of pets that help us, too. We have a dog and a cat. Actually, the dog, we call him a pup. And our cat chose us. We didn't choose the cat. It came up to the garage one day. That's how we ended up with that cat. The Lord gives you all kinds of gifts. And you have to decide whether you're going to accept them and what you're going to do with those gifts. So Anyway, that's all I got to say. I hope I didn't bore you. I mean, I know it's a long-winded subject, and some of you won't be religious enough to understand what I'm talking about, and some of you may be extraordinarily religious and say, "Well, you're still greedy, Ray," but actually, I'm not. If I wanted more, I guess I would have kept on working, or I figured out a way. I've just not had that need. My need at this point is hopefully I can control the things I do so that I don't disappoint the Lord. I don't want to disappoint my wife. And, my wife took care of me all those years. I mean, how can you, it's like falling in love again every day. When my wife walks down the hallway, my heart thumps. I look at her walking down the hallway. It actually does thump sometimes. I look up and I think how lucky I am. If something happened to her, I don't know how much longer I'd last. I'd certainly be praying that the Lord would take me, bring me home with her. That's what I would be wanting to do. With that, you have a good day. May the Lord bless you.